Captain Hyan watched the star screen with heavy eyes. The message from Kepler 442b had stopped 3 hours ago, just like all the others. Another world had gone dark, another species had died out. The aliens there called themselves the Luminari. They were peaceful people who lived off the energy from their sun. Now their sun was gone, not destroyed but drained, empty, cold. The ship's communication officer turned to Hyan. Her name was Yuna, and she looked scared. "Captain, we're getting more emergency signals from the outer systems. The Void Reapers are moving faster than we thought." Hyan nodded. The Void Reapers. Nobody knew where they came from. They appeared 6 months ago at the edge of the galaxy. Their ships looked like huge black crystals that seemed to eat light itself. Every world they visited became a dead rock floating in space. Every star they touched became a cold, empty ball. "How many worlds have we lost contact with?" Hyan asked. 47 in the last week, Yuna replied. "The Galactic Council says their combined fleets can't stop them. The Xanthari lost their entire home system yesterday. The Mokari evacuated their core worlds this morning." Hyan felt a cold anger growing in his chest. The Galactic Council was made up of 12 different alien species. They had been ruling the galaxy for thousands of years. Their technology was far beyond anything humans had. Their ships were faster, their weapons stronger, their shields better. But none of it mattered against the Void Reapers. On the research station Prometheus, Dr. Nara was studying the attack patterns of the Void Reapers. She had been watching their movements for weeks, trying to understand how they worked. What she found made her hands shake. The Void Reapers didn't just destroy things, they absorbed them. Every living being, every star, every source of energy became part of them. They grew stronger with each world they consumed. The energy that powered entire civilizations was being sucked into their black ships like water, down a drain. Nara pulled up the data from the Luminari homeworld. The readings showed something terrible. As the Void Reapers drained the star, the life force of every Luminari on the planet was pulled away with it. Their bodies didn't die in the normal way. They just faded away, becoming empty shells as their very essence was stolen. "Computer, show me the energy signatures from all the destroyed worlds," Nara said. The screen filled with data. Every alien species that had faced the Void Reapers had one thing in common. They all used external energy sources to power their technology and their bodies. The Xanthari drew power from their planet's magnetic field. The Mokari lived off radiation from their twin suns. The Luminari absorbed light directly into their cells. When the Void Reapers attacked, they turned these strengths into weaknesses. The aliens' dependence on outside energy made them easy targets. Their advanced technology became useless when the power source disappeared. Admiral Tahoe stood in the command center of Earth's main space station. Around him, officers from a dozen different alien species were packing their equipment. The Galactic Council had issued an evacuation order. Every species was supposed to retreat to the outer rim of the galaxy and wait for the Void Reapers to pass. "Admiral," said Ambassador Kess of the Mokari, "your transport ships are ready. We can evacuate Earth's population to the safety zones within a month." Tahoe looked at the alien ambassador. Kess was tall and thin, with skin that glowed faintly, blue. Her people had survived for millions of years by being careful and smart. They had never lost a war because they never fought battles they couldn't win. "Thank you, Ambassador," Tahoe said. "But we're not leaving." The room went quiet. All the alien officers stopped what they were doing and stared at Tahoe. "I'm sorry, Admiral," Kess said slowly. "Did you say you're not evacuating?" "That's right. Humanity will make our stand here." A Xanthari general stepped forward. His name was Vorth, and his people were known as the greatest warriors in the galaxy. "Admiral Tahoe, with respect, my people have been fighting wars for 10,000 years. We had the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. The Void Reapers destroyed us in 3 days. If we cannot stop them, what makes you think humans can?" Tahoe smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "Maybe that's exactly why we can stop them. You've been the strongest for so long. You forgot what it's like to fight when you have nothing left to lose." The aliens looked at each other with confusion. They had studied human history. They knew humans were young and violent. Human wars were messy and brutal compared to the clean, efficient conflicts of advanced civilizations. Most alien species saw this as proof that humans were primitive. "Admiral," Forth said carefully, "the Void Reapers have consumed the energy of entire star systems. They have technology we cannot understand. They feed on the very force of life itself. Your species has only been in space for a few hundred years. How can you possibly think you can succeed where we have failed?" Captain Hyan stepped forward. He had been listening from the back of the room. "Because we're too stupid to know when we're beaten." The aliens stared at him. They didn't understand if he was joking or serious. "The Luminari were peaceful," Jan continued. "The Zenthari were proud warriors. The Mokari were wise and ancient. All of you had something to lose. Something you wanted to protect by running away." He walked to the center of the room. "Humans are different. We've spent our entire history fighting impossible battles. We've charged into machine gun fire with nothing but rifles. We've sailed into storms that should have killed us. We've climbed mountains just because they were there." Admiral Tejo nodded. "Every human child learns about the last stands, the 300 Spartans, the Alamo, Stalingrad. We have a whole culture built around the idea that sometimes you have to fight even when you know you're going to lose." Dr. Nara's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral, I'm sending you my research data. I think I know why the Void Reapers are so good at beating everyone else." The data appeared on the main screen. Nara's analysis showed the energy patterns of every defeated civilization. "They all relied on external power sources," Nara explained. "When the Void Reapers drain those sources, the aliens become helpless. But humans are different. We generate our own energy internally. Our bodies run on chemical reactions. Our emotions create electrical impulses in our brains." She paused. "I think the Void Reapers might not be able to drain us the same way they drained everyone else." The alien officers looked at the data with growing understanding. The humans weren't just being brave or stupid. They might actually have a chance because they were powered by something the Void Reapers had never encountered before, something that came from inside instead of outside, something that grew stronger when it was threatened. "Admiral," Tejo turned to the assembled aliens, "you can evacuate if you want. We understand. But humanity is going to stand and fight. Not because we think we can win, but because running away isn't who we are." As the alien ships prepared to leave, Captain Hyan stood at the observation deck, watching them go. He thought about the Luminari slowly fading away as their light was stolen. He thought about the proud Zenthari warriors defeated despite their strength. Then he thought about humanity's long history of impossible victories, won by people who refused to give up. The Void Reapers were coming, but they had never faced a species that considered hopeless battles to be their specialty. For the first time since the invasion began, Jan smiled. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council fled to the Outer Rim. Earth had become something no one expected. The blue and green planet that was once peaceful now buzzed with activity day and night. Every city, every space station, every settlement on the Moon and Mars had been turned into a weapons factory. Commander Jiho stood on the observation platform of the Luna shipyards. Below him, thousands of workers moved like ants, building ships faster than anyone thought possible. These weren't the sleek, elegant vessels that alien civilizations preferred. Human ships looked rough and brutal, covered in armor and bristling with weapons. "How many ships do we have ready?" Jiho asked his assistant. 2,000 completed, sir. Another 500 will be finished this week." Jiho nodded. It wasn't enough to match the massive fleets the aliens had lost, but it would have to do. Quality over quantity had failed against the Void Reapers. Maybe quantity over quality would work better. In the underground laboratories beneath New Geneva, Engineer Soman was working on humanity's secret weapon. She hadn't slept in 36 hours, but her eyes were bright with excitement. On the table in front of her was a device that looked simple but contained technology no alien species had ever developed. "Dr. Nara, come look at this," Soman called. "Out." Nara walked over, her lab coat stained with coffee and exhaustion. "What did you find?" I've been studying the brain scans of our pilots during combat simulations, Soman explained. Look at these energy readings. The screen showed waves of electrical activity in the human brain. During normal conditions, the patterns were steady and predictable. But when the pilots were under stress, when they were angry or scared or determined, the electrical activity spiked dramatically. The aliens were right about us generating internal energy, Soman continued. But they didn't understand how much energy we can produce when we're pushed to our limits. She picked up the device from the table. It was roughly the size of a book, with cables that could connect to a pilot's helmet. I call it a Prometheus reactor. It takes the bioelectric energy from a human brain and amplifies it. The more stressed the pilot gets, the more power the ship has. Fear makes the shields stronger. Anger makes the weapons hit harder. Determination makes the engines faster. Nara stared at the device. You're saying that our emotional responses can actually power our technology? More than that. I'm saying that the worse things get for us, the more dangerous we become. While Soman worked on her reactors, Earth's military was changing in other ways. Commander Jiho had thrown out the standard military handbook. Traditional tactics had failed every alien species, so humanity would try something different. Pilot Minho sat in his fighter craft watching the tactical display. His squadron was made up of 20 ships, each one equipped with a prototype Prometheus reactor. They had been given a simple mission: engage the Void Reaper scout force that was approaching the outer edge of the solar system. Remember, Minho said into his radio, these things feed on energy. Every other species tried to fight them with maximum power from the start. We're going to do the opposite. Start with minimal power and let them think we're weak. His wingman was a pilot named Yuna. She had volunteered for the mission even though everyone knew it was probably suicide. Minho, what if this doesn't work? Then we die fighting instead of running away. That's still better than what happened to the Luminary. The Void Reaper ships appeared on their sensors like holes in space. They were enormous crystal structures that seemed to bend light around them. As they moved, the stars behind them flickered and dimmed. All fighters, engage, Minho ordered. The human ships moved forward, their weapons firing at low power. The Void Reaper's response was immediate. Dark energy beams lashed out, designed to drain the power from any ship they touched. But something unexpected happened. When the energy drain hit Yuna's fighter, instead of shutting down, her ship's reactor started glowing brighter. Yuna, report, Minho called out. They're trying to drain my power, she replied. But the Prometheus reactor is using my fear to generate more energy than they can take. The fear and adrenaline of being attacked was feeding into her ship's systems. Her weapons became more powerful. Her shields grew stronger, her engines burned hotter. One by one, the other pilots experienced the same thing. The Void Reaper's primary weapon was actually making the human ships more dangerous. Minho felt his own fear turn into something else. Excitement. For the first time since the war began, humans were winning a battle. All ships, full attack, he shouted. 20 human fighters charged into the Void Reaper formation. Their ships glowed with energy that grew brighter as the battle became more desperate. When Fighter 7 took damage, the pilot's anger at being hurt made his weapons burn with white-hot fury. When Fighter 12's shield failed, the pilot's determination to protect his squadron made his engine surge forward with impossible speed. The Void Reapers had never encountered anything like this. Every other species they had fought became weaker when their energy was drained. These humans became stronger. In 15 minutes, the entire Void Reaper scout force was destroyed. Back on Earth, Dr. Nara was analyzing the battle data when she made a discovery that changed everything. Soman, look at this, she said, pointing to her screen. The Void Reapers aren't just draining energy randomly. They're specifically targeting the kind of energy that advanced civilizations use. What do you mean? Every alien species we know uses clean, efficient energy sources. Solar collectors, fusion reactors, quantum batteries. The energy is pure and organized. Nara pulled up a comparison chart. Human energy is different. It's chaotic, emotional, unpredictable. When we're stressed, or angry or scared, our brain chemistry changes. Our heart rate increases. Our entire nervous system floods with chemicals that create electrical activity. She pointed to the readings from the battle. The Void Reapers can't process this kind of energy. It's too messy, too alive. It's like they're trying to drain a wildfire and getting burned instead. Commander Jiho received the battle report while standing in the main command center. Around him, officers who had been expecting news of humanity's first defeat were staring at the data in disbelief. Confirmed kills on all Void Reaper ships? Jiho asked. Yes, sir. 0 human casualties. Minimal damage to our fighters. Jiho looked at the tactical display showing the position of the main Void Reaper fleet. It was still months away, but now, he knew something the aliens hadn't. The enemy could be beaten. Send a message to all human colonies, he ordered. Begin full production of Prometheus reactors. Install them on every ship, every weapon, every piece of equipment we have. As the weeks passed, more Void Reaper scouts entered the solar system. Each battle was the same story. The aliens' energy draining. Attacks made human technology more powerful instead of weaker. Pilot Minho led increasingly dangerous missions, each one teaching humanity more about their unexpected advantage. He learned that anger made his weapons more accurate. Fear made his reflexes faster. The desire to protect his fellow pilots made his ship's systems work beyond their normal limits. Engineer Soman worked around the clock to improve the Prometheus reactors. She discovered that teams of humans could link their reactors together, creating power surges that were impossible for any single alien to generate. Dr. Nara continued studying the Void Reapers' biology and found something disturbing. They weren't just alien invaders. They were something else entirely. Something that had once been alive but had lost the ability to generate its own life force. They're parasites, she told Admiral Taiho during a briefing, but not by choice. I think they used to be like us, but something happened to them. They lost the ability to create energy from within themselves. What does that mean for us? Taiho asked. It means they've never fought a species that still has what they lost. Our ability to generate power from our emotions, our pain, our determination. It's something they can't understand because they don't have it anymore. As Earth's defenses grew stronger, the main Void Reaper fleet finally arrived at the edge of the solar system. It was massive beyond imagination. Thousands of crystal ships, each one large enough to hold a city. But for the first time since the invasion began, humanity wasn't afraid. Commander Jiho stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, watching the enemy fleet approach. His ship was powered by the linked Prometheus reactors of 500 crew members. Every emotion, every heartbeat, every surge of determination was feeding into the vessel's systems. All ships prepare for battle, he announced to the human fleet. Across the solar system, 2,000 human ships powered up their reactors. As the crews prepared for the fight of their lives, their fear and anger and stubborn refusal to give up created a glow that could be seen from space. The Void Reapers had consumed entire civilizations, but they had never faced a species that turned their emotions into weapons. The Battle of Sol was about to begin. The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone thought possible. Humanity had won the Battle of Sol. The Void Reapers' main fleet, the same force that had destroyed a dozen advanced civilizations, had been defeated by a species that most aliens considered primitive. Ambassador Kess of the Mokari received the transmission while her people were hiding in the Outer Rim territories. She read the report 3 times before she believed it was real. This cannot be accurate, she said. To her aid, the humans had only 2,000 ships. The Void Reapers brought 50,000. The battle recordings are included in the transmission, Ambassador. Would you like to see them? Kess activated the holographic display. What she saw made no sense. Human ships were flying directly into the Void Reapers' energy-draining beams. Instead of being disabled, they seemed to grow brighter and more powerful. How is this possible? She whispered. Meanwhile, in the Zenthari refugee camps, General Vorth was having the same reaction. His warriors, the proudest fighters in the galaxy, had been forced to run from the Void Reapers. Now these young humans had done what his ancient military could not. Sir, his communications officer said, we're receiving a direct transmission from Captain Hyon. Captain Hyon's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, Forth could see the bridge of a human warship. It looked nothing like the elegant command centers of Zenthari vessels. It was cramped, functional, and covered with warning lights and emergency equipment. "General Vorth," Jan said, "I'm transmitting the technical specifications for our Prometheus reactors. We thought you might be interested in how they work." Vorth studied the data with growing amazement. The human technology was crude by alien standards, but it was based on a principle no other species had ever considered. Instead of using external power sources, it fed off the biological and emotional responses of the crew. "Captain Hyon," Vorth said slowly, "are you saying that your ships become more powerful when your people are afraid or angry?" "That's exactly what I'm saying. The Void Reapers drain external energy, but internal energy, the kind that comes from inside a living being, is something they can't touch." While the refugee fleets tried to understand humanity's victory, Lieutenant Dabin was leading a new kind of mission. Instead of defending human space, his squadron was attacking Void Reaper positions in conquered territory. Their target was the Thylos system, which had been the homeworld of a species called the Narathi. The peaceful plant-like aliens had been among the first to fall to the Void Reapers, their life force absorbed along with their star's energy. "Approaching the system now," Dabin reported to his team. "Sensors show 3 Void Reaper ships in orbit around the dead world." His squadron consisted of 12 fighters, each one equipped with advanced Prometheus reactors. The pilots had volunteered for the mission even though no one knew if it was possible to reverse what the Void Reapers had done. "Remember," Dabin said, "Dr. Nara thinks the absorbed energy is still there, just locked away in their ships. If we can overload their systems with our own energy, we might be able to force them to release it." The attack began like all human assaults against the Void Reapers. The fighters charged directly into the enemy formation, allowing themselves to be hit by the energy-draining beams. But instead of being weakened, each pilot's reactor fed off their determination to save the Narathi. Pilot Kyung was the first to make contact with a Void Reaper ship. As the alien vessel tried to drain her fighter's power, her anger at seeing the dead world below made her reactor burn like a star. "I'm getting feedback from their ship," she reported. "The energy is flowing back into them faster than they can process it." The Void Reaper vessel began to glow with an unnatural light. Cracks appeared along its crystal surface as the chaotic human energy overloaded its systems. Then something incredible happened. The dead star in the center of the system flickered. For just a moment, nuclear fusion restarted in its core. The planet below, which had been a cold rock for months, began to warm as energy flowed back into it. On the surface, the withered remains of Narathi cities began to show signs of life. Plants that had been drained to nothing started to grow again. The absorbed life force was returning to where it belonged. "All ships, focus fire on the remaining Void Reapers," Dabin ordered. "Whatever we're doing, it's working." The battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it was over, all 3 Void Reaper ships had been destroyed, and the Thylos system was alive again. Dr. Nara studied the mission reports from her laboratory on Earth. What Lieutenant Dabin's team had discovered changed everything they thought. They knew about the war. "The energy isn't destroyed," she explained to Admiral Tejo during their daily briefing. "It's just locked away in the Void Reaper's ships. When our Prometheus reactors overload their systems, the energy is released and returns to its original source." "So we can bring back the dead worlds?" Tejo asked. "More than that. We can bring back the dead civilizations. The Narathi are already starting to regenerate on their homeworld. Their consciousness, their memories, everything that made them who they were, it was all preserved in the absorbed energy." As news of the liberation mission spread, something unexpected began to happen. The alien refugee fleets started to change their plans. Instead of hiding in the outer rim, they began to ask for humanity's help. Captain Hyon found himself hosting a meeting with representatives from 6 different species aboard his ship. They all wanted the same thing: to learn how to fight like humans. "The technology is only part of it," Hyon explained to the assembled aliens. "The Prometheus reactors work by feeding off emotional responses, but your species have spent thousands of years learning to control your emotions." Ambassador Kess leaned forward. Are you saying we need to become more like humans? Not exactly. But you need to remember how to feel strongly about things. The Void Reapers can drain technological energy, but they can't touch the power that comes from caring deeply about something. Engineer Soman was working with alien technicians to modify Prometheus reactors for different species. It wasn't easy. The Zenthari generated energy through their warrior pride. The Mokari drew power from their ancient wisdom. Each species had to find their own emotional core. The key, Soman explained to a group of Zenthari engineers, is to tap into whatever makes your species unique. For humans, it's our stubborn refusal to give up. For you, it might be your honor as warriors. General Vorth was skeptical. My people have always believed that emotion in battle leads to mistakes. Maybe that's why you lost to the Void Reapers, Soman replied bluntly. They don't make mistakes because they don't feel anything. The only way to beat something that's perfectly logical is to be perfectly illogical. The first mixed fleet launched 2 weeks later. Captain Hyon led a force of human ships alongside Zenthari warriors who had learned to channel their battle fury into Prometheus reactors. The target was a major Void Reaper staging area in the Corvax Nebula. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human pilots screamed war cries as they charged into enemy formations. Zenthari warriors roared ancient battle hymns that made their ships glow with golden energy. Mokari vessels pulsed with the slow, steady power of deep wisdom and patient determination. For the first time, the Void Reapers faced an enemy that fought with pure emotion. Their energy-draining attacks not only failed to weaken the Allied fleet, but actually made it stronger as each species found new ways to convert their feelings into power. Pilot Minho led his squadron in a daring attack on the enemy command ship. As Void Reaper fighters swarmed around him, his fear transformed into excitement, his excitement into joy, his joy into a burning determination that made his weapons shine like suns. Behind him, a Zenthari warrior named Keth channeled his rage at seeing his homeworld destroyed. His ship blazed with energy that turned his simple fighter into something that could punch through capital ship armor. The battle ended with the complete destruction of the Void Reaper force. But more importantly, it proved that the Alliance could work. Different species working together could turn their unique emotional strengths into weapons the enemy couldn't counter. Dr. Nara made her most important discovery while analyzing the wreckage of the Void Reaper command ship. Deep in its core, she found something that made her hands shake. "Admiral," she called Taiho over the communication system. "I know what the Void Reapers used to be." "What did you find?" "Genetic traces. DNA fragments that are billions of years old. The Void Reapers aren't aliens from another galaxy. They're the remnants of the first galactic civilization." She paused, trying to find the right words. "They were like us once. A species that generated their own energy, their own life force. But they became so advanced, so perfect, that they eliminated all struggle from their existence. Without challenge, without difficulty, without the need to fight for survival, they lost the ability to generate energy from within. So they became parasites? They didn't choose to. They evolved into it. As they became more dependent on external energy sources, their internal generation systems atrophied. Eventually, they lost the ability entirely. The only way they could survive was to take energy from other living beings. The implications were staggering. The Void Reapers weren't evil invaders. They were the galaxy's first civilization, transformed into something monstrous by their own success. As the Allied flew, the galaxy was changing. For the first time in millions of years, different species were learning from each other instead of just trading technology or signing treaties. They were sharing something more basic and important: how to feel. Chief Engineer Somin stood in her workshop alongside Vexai, a Zenthari technician who had arrived 3 days ago. The alien was tall and covered in golden scales that changed color with his emotions. Right now they were glowing orange with frustration. "The reactor works," Vexai said, staring at the modified Prometheus device on the table. "But I cannot make it respond the way human reactors do." Soman smiled. "That's because you're trying to feel like a human. Your species doesn't work that way." She picked up a datapad showing Zenthari brain scans. Look at this. When humans get angry, our brain activity spikes in the emotional centers. But when Xanthari get angry, the activity spreads to your memory centers too. I do not understand. Your anger isn't just emotion. It's connected to your history, your ancestors, your entire cultural identity. A human gets mad and wants to hit something. A Xanthari gets mad and becomes the living embodiment of 10,000 years of warrior tradition. Someone made adjustments to the reactor settings. Try it now. But instead of trying to feel human anger, remember why your people became warriors in the first place. Vexhai placed his hands on the reactor contacts and closed his eyes. His scales began to shift through different colors as he reached deep into his species' genetic memory. The reactor's energy output climbed steadily, then suddenly spiked as bright golden light filled the room. By the ancient codes, Vexhai whispered, I can feel my ancestors. Their strength is flowing through me. Soman nodded with satisfaction. Every species has their own way of generating internal energy. We just have to help you find yours. Across the galaxy, similar experiments were taking place. On the Mokari refugee ships, their philosophers were learning to turn contemplation into power. Their deep thoughts and ancient wisdom created a steady, reliable energy that could run for days without interruption. Captain Hyon was conducting training exercises with the first mixed squadron of human and alien pilots. The differences in fighting styles were extreme, but that was turning out to be an advantage. Minho, take point with the Xanthari fighters, Hyon ordered. Yuna, coordinate with the Mokari support ships. Minho's human fighter darted forward alongside 3 Xanthari warriors. The aliens flew in perfect formation, their ships glowing with golden energy that pulsed in rhythm with their shared battle songs. When they engaged the target drones, their attack was precise and devastating. Behind them, Yuna worked with the Mokari vessels. These ships moved slowly and deliberately, but their weapons never missed. The Mokari pilots used their ancient patience to line up perfect shots that could disable enemy vessels without destroying them. This is incredible, Yuna reported. The IDAS Mokari can target specific systems on enemy ships. We could capture Void Reaper technology intact. Dr. Nara was working with Thaisara, a Mokari scientist who had joined the research team. The alien looked like a living tree, with bark-like skin and hair that resembled leaves. But her mind was sharp and curious. Your theory about emotional energy is correct, Thaisara said in her slow, melodic voice. But I believe you have not considered all the implications. What do you mean? The Void Reapers consume external energy because they have forgotten how to generate internal energy. But what if we could teach them to remember? Nara stared at her alien colleague. You're talking about trying to cure them instead of destroying them. Consider this. They were once like us. If we can help them recover their ability to generate life force naturally, they would no longer need to consume other beings. It was a radical idea. Every military leader in the galaxy wanted to destroy the Void Reapers completely. But Dr. Nara began to wonder if there might be another way. The war continued with increasing success for the Alliance. Liberated worlds were brought back to life, their populations restored from the energy patterns stored in destroyed Void Reaper ships. But the enemy was learning too. Commander Jiho received troubling reports from the front lines. The Void Reapers had changed their tactics. Instead of trying to drain energy from Allied ships, they were avoiding direct combat and focusing on hit-and-run attacks. They're adapting, he told Admiral Taiho during their morning briefing. Our emotional energy weapons work perfectly against their standard attack patterns, but they're learning not to use those patterns anymore. What are they doing? Instead, stealth attacks, long-range bombardment. They're trying to destroy our ships from a distance instead of draining them up close. Taiho frowned. So they're becoming more like conventional enemies. Exactly. And that might actually be harder to fight. We built our entire strategy around the fact that their energy-draining attacks made us stronger. If they stop using those attacks, the problem became clear during the Battle of Kepler Station. A Void Reaper fleet appeared without warning and began bombarding the Allied defensive positions from extreme range. Their weapons were different now, pure destructive force instead of energy drains. Lieutenant Dabin led a squadron of mixed fighters in a desperate attempt to break through to the enemy ships, but without the Void Reaper's energy-draining attacks to power their Prometheus reactors, the Allied ships were fighting with normal power levels. "We're not gaining any advantage from our emotions," Dabin reported as his squadron took heavy damage. "They're just shooting at us like any other enemy would." The battle was turning into a disaster when something unexpected happened. Pilot Kyung, whose fighter had been badly damaged, refused to retreat. "My reactor is almost dead," she transmitted to the squadron. "But I'm not giving up." Her determination to keep fighting, even without the boost from Void Reaper attacks, created a different kind of energy. Instead of the explosive power that came from being drained, her reactor generated a steady, sustainable glow that came from pure human stubbornness. "Dabin, look at Kyung's energy readings," Yuna called out. "She's generating power just from refusing to quit." One by one, the other pilots began to understand. The Prometheus reactors didn't just work by converting enemy attacks into power. They could also run on the pure emotional energy of beings who refused to give up. The tide of battle turned as the Alliance learned to fight without depending on the enemy's help. Human determination, Zenthari honor, and Makari wisdom combined to create a force that was powerful regardless of what the Void Reapers did. Back on Earth, Dr. Nara was making progress on her secret project. Working with Thaisara and a team of volunteers from different species, she was developing something unprecedented, a device that could restore the ability to generate internal energy. "We call it the neural resonance weapon," she explained to a small group of senior officers. "But it's not really a weapon, it's more like medicine." Admiral Taiho studied the device's specifications. "You're saying this can cure the Void Reapers?" "In theory, yes. The device sends out a specific pattern of energy that matches the neural patterns of living beings. When Void Reapers are exposed to it, their ancient genetic memory might be triggered. They could remember what it was like to generate their own life force. And if it doesn't work, then we've wasted time and resources on something that does nothing. But if it does work..." Nara paused. "We could end the war without destroying anyone." The proposal was controversial. Many officers believed the Void Reapers were too dangerous to try to cure. They had killed billions of beings and destroyed entire civilizations. They deserved to be eliminated, not healed. But Captain Hyon supported the project. "If we can turn our enemies back into what they used to be, we create allies instead of corpses, and we prove that the power to generate life from within is stronger than the power to take life from others." The first test of the neural resonance weapon took place in the ruins of the Vorthan system. A small Void Reaper ship had been isolated, there, cut off from the main fleet and running low on absorbed energy. Dr. Nara and her team approached in a heavily shielded research vessel. The device was mounted on the ship's hull, its crystalline components designed to broadcast the pattern of natural life force across a wide area. "Beginning transmission," Nara announced. The neural resonance weapon activated, sending out waves of energy that matched the patterns found in every living brain. The energy wasn't destructive or draining. It was the opposite, pure life force, freely given. The Void Reaper ship stopped moving. For long minutes, nothing happened. Then slowly, its black crystal surface began to change. Patterns of light appeared, growing brighter as something deep within the vessel awakened. "Dr. Nara," Thaisara said quietly, "look at the energy readings from their ship." The sensors showed something incredible. The Void Reaper vessel was generating its own power for the first time in millions of years. Instead of drawing energy from external sources, it was creating life force from within. The ship's hull continued to change, black crystal becoming transparent, and then taking on the warm glow of living tissue. What had been a parasitic machine was transforming back into something that resembled a biological organism. "It's working," Nara whispered. The final battle was about to begin at the most dangerous place in the galaxy, the galactic core. Here, where millions of stars clustered around a massive black hole, the Void Reapers had built their ultimate weapon. Admiral Taiho stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, watching the tactical displays with grim determination. Around him, officers from a dozen different species worked together, their various forms of life force energy creating a rainbow of colors throughout the ship. Long-range sensors confirm it, reported Commander Jiho. The dark engine is fully operational. On the main screen, they could see the enemy's final creation. It was enormous, larger than most moons, built around the galactic black hole itself. Dark crystal structures extended outward like the arms of a spider, each one designed to channel energy from the black hole's massive gravitational forces. Dr. Nara, Tejo called to the science station. What's your analysis? Dr. Nara looked up from her instruments, her face pale. It's worse than we thought. The dark engine isn't just designed to drain energy from stars and planets. It's going to use the black hole's power to create a wave that will eliminate all chaotic energy in the galaxy. What does that mean? It means every form of life force that comes from emotions, struggle, or internal generation will be destroyed. They want to turn the entire galaxy into a place where only external artificial energy can exist. Perfect order, no conflict, no growth, no life as we understand it. Engineer Soman was working frantically at her station. The worst part is it might actually work. The energy wave would travel at the speed of light. Once it activates, we'd have maybe a few years before it reaches the outer rim where the refugee fleets are hiding. Captain Hyun's voice came over, the communication system from his fighter squadron. Admiral, we're ready to begin the attack, but I have to warn you, the Void Reapers have brought everything they have. Sensors show at least 10,000 ships defending the dark engine. Through the viewports, they could see the enemy fleet. The Void Reaper ships hung in space like a swarm of black crystals, each one radiating the cold energy of absorbed life force. But mixed among them were other ships, vessels that glowed with warm light. The transformed Void Reapers, Thisara observed from her science station, the ones who remembered how to generate their own energy. They're fighting alongside their former masters. That complicates things, Tejo muttered. We can't just destroy every enemy ship if some of them are actually trying to help us. Lieutenant Dabin led the advance squadron toward the enemy lines. His ships were a mix of human fighters and alien vessels, all powered by the various forms of Prometheus reactors that different species had developed. Remember, he transmitted to his pilots, the black ships are still our enemies. The glowing ships are allies. Try not to shoot the allies. The battle began unlike any conflict in galactic history. 3 different factions fought in the same space. The Alliance fleet trying to destroy the Dark Engine, the parasitic Void Reapers defending it, and the transformed Void Reapers trying to stop their former kin. Pilot Minho found himself flying alongside a transformed Void Reaper ship that had once been his enemy. The alien vessel moved with grace and purpose, its weapons targeting the black crystal ships with precision. Human fighter, came a voice over the radio. This is the vessel, you know as awakened dawn. We fight together now against the darkness we once served. Good to have you on our side, Minho replied, diving into formation with the converted ship. The space battle raged for hours. Alliance ships powered by emotional energy clashed with Void Reaper vessels that drained everything they touched. Transformed, ships fought desperately to protect their new allies while battling the overwhelming guilt of what they had done during their parasitic phase. But the real objective wasn't the fleet battle. It was getting close enough to the Dark Engine to disable it. Admiral Tejo led a strike force of capital ships directly toward the massive weapon. Their combined shields glowed with the power of thousands of crew members whose determination to save the galaxy fed energy into the ship's systems. We're taking heavy fire, reported Commander Jiho as the ship shuddered under enemy attacks. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Keep going, Tejo ordered. We have to get close enough for the boarding teams. Captain Hyon and Lieutenant Yupon Dabin led their fighters in a desperate attack on the Dark Engine's outer defenses. The weapon was so large that flying around it was like navigating through a mechanical solar system. Crystal towers and energy conduits created a maze of deadly obstacles. There, Hyon called out, pointing to a docking bay on one of the engine's arms. That's our entry point. The boarding party consisted of volunteers from every species in the Alliance. Humans, Xanthari, Mokari, and even some of the transformed Void Reapers worked together to penetrate the dark engine's defenses. Dr. Nara was part of the boarding team, carrying a modified neural resonance weapon that had been designed specifically for this mission. If they could reach the engine's core and activate the device, it might be possible to transform the entire structure. The inside of the dark engine was a nightmare of black crystal and stolen energy. The walls pulsed with the life force of dead civilizations, their essence trapped in crystalline matrices that fed power to the weapons systems. "This way," called out one of the transformed Void Reapers, a being that now called itself Memory of Light. "The core is through the energy processing chambers." As they moved deeper into the structure, they could feel the dark engine charging up for its final activation. The air itself seemed to vibrate with barely contained power. They encountered resistance from the parasitic Void Reapers, who served as the engine's guardians. These beings had become so dependent on external energy that they were more machine than living creature. They fought with desperate fury, knowing that the transformation of their ultimate weapon would mean the end of their parasitic existence. Warrior Kyung led the combat team, her Prometheus reactor blazing with the fury of someone fighting for the survival of all life in the galaxy. Behind her, Centauri warriors chanted battle songs that made their weapons glow like stars. "The core chamber is just ahead," Memory of Light reported. "But the Guardians will make their final stand there." The battle in the core chamber was brief, but intense. The parasitic Void Reapers fought with the energy of billions of absorbed civilizations, but they couldn't match the raw determination of beings who were fighting for the right to exist as themselves. When the last Guardian fell, Dr. Nara activated the neural resonance weapon. The device sent out waves of pure life force energy that spread throughout the dark engine structure. Wherever the energy touched, black crystal began to transform into something that resembled living tissue. But something unexpected happened. The dark engine wasn't just being transformed, it was fighting back. "Dr. Nara," shouted Engineer Soman over the communication system. "The engine is using the black hole's gravity to amplify its own energy output. It's trying to complete its mission even as it's being converted." The dark engine had become a battlefield between two different kinds of energy: the cold, orderly power of external sources and the warm, chaotic energy of internal generation. The weapon was literally tearing itself apart as these forces struggled for control. "We need more power," Nara realized. "The neural resonance weapon isn't strong enough to overcome the engine's programming." Memory of Light stepped forward. "Then we will provide the power you need." The transformed Void Reaper began to glow with intense light as it channeled all of its newly recovered life force into the resonance device. One by one, the other converted beings joined it, adding their energy to the transformation wave. But it still wasn't enough. The dark engine was too massive, too deeply programmed with the desire for perfect order. That's when Captain Heon made a decision that no one expected. "All ships, link your Prometheus reactors to Dr. Nara's device," he ordered over the fleet communication system. "Captain," Admiral Tejo protested, "that will drain the power from every ship in the fleet. We'll be defenseless." "No," Hyun replied. "We'll be something better than defenseless. We'll be proof that life force energy is stronger when it's given freely than when it's taken by force." Across the battle zone, every ship in the Alliance fleet began channeling its energy toward the dark engine's core. Human determination, Centauri honor, Mokari wisdom, and the newly awakened memories of the transformed Void Reapers combined into a wave of pure life force. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. The dark engine's black crystal structure began to glow with warm light as billions of years of evolutionary programming was overwritten by the simple truth that conscious beings were meant to generate their own energy. But as the weapon transformed, it began to collapse. The massive structure, no longer held together by the cold precision of artificial energy, started falling toward the galactic black hole. "All ships, retreat," Admiral Tejo ordered. "The gravitational field is destabilizing." Engineer Soman watched the sensor readings with growing alarm. "Admiral, the engine's collapse is going to create a massive energy release. It could destroy everything in the core systems." That's when Dr. Nara realized what was really happening. "No, it's not going to destroy anything. It's going to create something new."